Do you trust what you see? The information you receive? There is an invisible force shaping your reality right now. A force that promises objectivity but whispers the prejudices of its creators. It isn't human, but it's learning prejudice from us. Today, we're not going to talk about the AI revolution. We're going to talk about the silent distortion it causes, about the shattered mirror it holds up to us, pretending it's the truth. Have you ever wondered why a social media algorithm seems to know you better than your friends? It doesn't know you. It knows a version of you, a caricature assembled from the fragments of your clicks, fears, and desires. We are led to believe that artificial intelligence is a neutral entity, pure logic of silicon and data. But that is the first lie. Every algorithm is a mirror, and our world, the world that feeds data into this mirror, is already fractured. AI isn't creating a biased future, it's automating our unequal past. It learns from the entirety of our digital history, our best intentions and our worst impulses, and what it reflects back is not the truth you deserve, but the distorted sum of our collective failures, amplified at the speed of light. The question isn't whether AI will become biased. The question is that it was born this way. To understand bias, we must go to the source, to what engineers call training data. Imagine teaching a child about the world by only showing them history books written 50 years ago. That child would grow up with a limited, distorted, and incomplete worldview. This is exactly what we do with AI. We feed it terabytes of text and images from the internet, historical hiring records, old criminal files, data that carries the DNA of decades of social, racial, and gender prejudice. The algorithm doesn't know what fair is. It only knows how to identify patterns. If the data shows that, historically, most CEOs were white men, the AI learns a dangerous equation. White man equals success. This isn't a programming bug, it's a feature. The original sin of AI lies in the data we use to baptize it. It is the source code of inequality, written not in Python, but in the silent language of human prejudice. In 1922, long before the first computer, the journalist Walter Lippmann wrote about how we create pictures in our heads to simplify a world that is too complex. He called them stereotypes. He argued that we don't respond to reality, but to a pseudo-reality of our own construction. 100 years later, Lippmann's shadow looms over the architecture of AI. The algorithms that now filter resumes, approve loans, and even suggest judicial sentences are the industrial-scale materialization of Lippmann's stereotypes. They take the complexity of a human being and reduce it to a handful of variables, a risk score, a probability. The difference is that Lippmann's stereotype lived in the human mind. The algorithmic stereotype lives on servers, operates 24/7, invisibly affects millions of lives, and hides behind a mask of mathematical objectivity. We are building an even more powerful pseudo-reality, and worse, we are starting to believe it is reality itself. Let's look at a technical, yet frighteningly simple example. Think about how an AI understands language. One of the foundational models for this is Word2Vec. It learns the meaning of words by analyzing their relationships in billions of texts. It turns words into vectors, points in a mathematical space. What happens when you perform a simple equation with these vectors? Researchers found that king minus man plus woman results in a vector very close to queen. Fascinating. But they also found that programmer minus man plus woman resulted in homemaker. The math was mirroring a century of gender bias. The algorithm isn't sexist, it's a diligent student that read the wrong textbooks. And these language models are the foundation of everything. Your voice assistants, your automatic translators, the chatbots that serve you. Every time you interact with them, you are conversing with the ghosts of our own prejudices, encoded in mathematics. In 2018, facial recognition technology was sold as the future of security. Infallible, accurate, objective. But there was a problem. It didn't see everyone equally. Studies began to show that the most advanced systems on the market had error rates of less than 1% for light-skinned men. For dark-skinned women, that error rate jumped to nearly 35%. 1 in 3 faces was misidentified. Why? Because the systems were trained predominantly on photos of white men. The result? Black women being mistaken for men, or simply not being detected at all. This is not an inconvenience. It is digital erasure. Imagine this technology being used by police, in airports, in hiring processes. A tool that was supposed to identify people was actually making an entire segment of the population invisible, or worse, unjustly accusing them. The promise of security became a weapon of exclusion. This glaring flaw wasn't discovered by accident. It was exposed by an MIT researcher, Joy Buolamwini. While working on a project, she realized the facial recognition software didn't detect her face. Only when she put on a white mask did the system recognize her. She called this the coded gaze. Buolamwini didn't accept the flaw. She systematically tested the systems of the world's largest tech companies, like IBM, Microsoft, and Amazon, and published the devastating results. She didn't just point out the problem, she forced tech giants to admit their failures and pull or improve their products. Joy Buolamwini's story is a powerful reminder that human critique and vigilance are the antidote to technological complacency. As she herself said, AI is not a force of nature. It is an artifact created by people. And people can and must fix their mistakes. The scales of justice are supposed to be blind. But what happens when we hand them a pair of biased lenses? In several judicial systems around the world, algorithms are used to calculate a defendant's risk of recidivism. This score can influence bail, sentencing, and parole. The most famous of these algorithms, Compass, was the subject of a journalistic investigation that revealed an alarming racial bias. The algorithm was twice as likely to falsely flag black defendants as future criminals than white defendants. Conversely, it was more likely to label white defendants as low risk, even when they went on to reoffend. The machine, fed with historical data from a flawed justice system, learned to perpetuate those same flaws. The result is a self-fulfilling prophecy. The algorithm predicts a group is high risk, that group receives harsher sentences and fewer opportunities, and the cycle of inequality is reinforced, thus validating the algorithm's initial predictions. This is justice programmed to fail. Bias doesn't just operate in large systems of justice or hiring. It operates inside your mind, every day, through the screens you stare at. Content platforms, from news to videos, use AI for a single metric: engagement. And the easiest way to keep you engaged is to give you more of what you already like, more of what confirms your existing beliefs. This creates an echo chamber or filter bubble. If you believe a conspiracy theory is real, the AI won't show you facts that disprove it. It will flood you with more videos, more articles, and more proof that reinforces your belief, because that keeps you clicking. The AI becomes an enabler of our own confirmation bias. Over time, two people can live in the same country, in the same city, and yet inhabit completely different information universes, each curated by an algorithm to be its own irrefutable version of the truth. Polarization isn't an accident, it's a feature of the business model. Like Joy Buolamwini, Timnit Gebru is a central figure in the fight for ethical AI. As the co-lead of Google's ethical AI team, she was one of the most critical voices within the industry. In 2020, she co-authored a paper warning about the dangers of large language models, the same technology behind AIs like ChatGPT. The paper pointed out the risks of bias, the environmental costs, and the potential for misuse in disinformation. Google's response was not debate, it was censorship. The company demanded she either remove her name from the paper or retract it. When she refused, she was fired. Timnit Gebru's story is a cautionary tale. It shows that for many corporations, AI ethics is great for marketing, but an obstacle to profit. It reveals the immense power these companies hold, not only over the technology, but over the very conversation about it. The cost of telling the truth about AI's flaws can be your career. So far, we've talked about biases that arise from bad data. But what if the bias is the goal? Generative AIs, capable of creating ultra-realistic text, images, and videos, open a new dark frontier. They are the perfect tool for the architecture of disinformation. Imagine creating, in seconds, hundreds of fake news articles, each subtly tailored to exploit the biases of a specific audience. Imagine creating fake images of politicians saying things they never said, or videos of events that never happened, all with terrifying realism. AI no longer needs to just reflect bias. It can manufacture it on demand. It can be used to erode trust in institutions, to manipulate elections, to incite hatred. We are moving from the era of artisanal disinformation into the era of industrial, automated, and personalized disinformation. The truth becomes just another product to be manufactured. Faced with this abyss, paralysis is a tempting response, but it's not the only one. Within the AI community itself, researchers are working on solutions. There are debiasing techniques that try to mathematically identify and remove biases from models. There are efforts to create more diverse and representative datasets. But technology alone is not the answer. The most powerful solution is human. It's creating development teams that are as diverse as the world they are building for. It's including sociologists, ethicists, and historians in the creation process. It's demanding transparency and external audits for algorithms that make critical decisions. We can't just fix the code. We need to fix the process that creates the code. We need to inject humanity, context, and accountability at every step, from conception to implementation. The fight is not against the machine, but for a better machine. In the end, the journey through the darkness of algorithmic bias brings us back to where we started. Ourselves. Artificial intelligence, in its current form, is not an alien intelligence. It is a mirror that does not lie. It reflects with brutal clarity our mental shortcuts, our historical inequalities, and our silent prejudices. Joy Buolamwini showed us the machine's gaze was flawed. Timnit Gebru warned us about the cost of ignoring those flaws. Perhaps the greatest gift AI can give us is not efficiency or automation, but this uncomfortable reflection. It forces us to look at the cracks in our own society. The final question, then, is not how we can build a perfectly unbiased AI. The question is, are we willing to become a society worthy of being reflected? The AI is not the monster at the end of the maze. It is the mirror that shows us that the monster, and also the hero, was us all along.